All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Sports Medicine Broadcast number 214, Athletic Training Abroad. We are talking with Caleb Lott, an athletic trainer at the Shanghai American School. All right, here we go, Caleb. Pudong campus, Shanghai, China.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
That's right.
See, I had a friend that lived over in China for 4 or 5 years doing missionary work stuff. So,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean I know any Chinese.
Well, I tell you what, I know just about as much as you do. It's slowly getting better, but the language is quite a challenge.
Yep.
Quite a challenge.
Yep. Because they were actually, I think they were there as students. So crazy how much studying you have to do because everything is different, and then saying the same thing with a different inflection completely changes the way the word means or whatever. So
Yeah, absolutely. There's different tones for every word, and so you may say something one way and it can mean a completely different thing if your tone is not correct. But for all those listeners out there, ni hao, that means hello. So like your body part ni, and then how as in a question. So put it together really quickly. Ni hao means hello from China.
ni hao. Ni hao. All right.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So Caleb, you're the athletic trainer there at the Shanghai American School, and you have a master's of arts in teaching and physical education. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Of course,
Okay.
I'm the host, Jeremy Jackson, and we're on the Sports Medicine Broadcast. I was going to make this sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/Shanghai, but I figured that might be hard for people to spell. So this is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/China, right? Because I'm not sure how often I'm going to speak. If we do another one, then maybe it'll be China too. I don't know. But this is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/China. So if you want to check it out later at some point, then you can look at the show notes and that kind of thing. All right. So Caleb, start off. Tell us about your athletic trainer story. Where did you first get involved with athletic training?
I first got started, with an interest in athletic training back in high school, matter of fact. And I kind of got that affinity towards that profession through shadowing my uncle, who has been a long-time athletic trainer at Saddleback College in Southern California. And so I went to work with him a few days over the summer, just visiting, and I really found out what that was all about, and got my first taste of the profession then. And I quickly knew that I wanted to go into the profession, graduating high school. And so from there, I went to Mars Hill College and majored in athletic training, and then pursued a little bit of a collegiate athletic endeavor as well. And after I graduated from Mars Hill College, and that is in Mars Hill, North Carolina, I then had an opportunity, was fortunate enough to go down to University of South Carolina and work as a graduate assistant down there. And through that opportunity, I pursued my master's of arts in teaching, and that concentration was in physical education. And so that took me 3 years to complete down at USC, and I had a myriad of opportunities as a graduate assistant down at the University of South Carolina. And I worked with club sports for a year. Then I had the privilege of working with the men's football team for a year, and then I was at a local high school in the greater Columbia, South Carolina area called Mid Carolina High School. And so that kind of not terminated, but that kind of
Closed out.
That kind of closed out. That stopped my education at that moment. But then I was really ambitious about finding what other opportunities were out there after graduate school. And so I had some mentors at the University of South Carolina, Dr. Minch, who was the graduate program director at the time, and then our head orthopedic surgeon for the USC Athletics. His name was Dr. Jeffrey Guy, and they had been supporting a company in China called the Institute for Western Surgery. And the Institute for Western Surgery was a sports medicine provider similar to Memorial Health. Is that the one in Houston?
Memorial Hermann.
Yeah,
That's a
Memorial
hospital
Hermann.
system.
Okay, so this Institute for Western Surgery is kind of a small clinic in China, and they have a couple different satellite offices in Shanghai and in this city called Guangzhou. And so this company had heard about athletic trainers through these mentors that I had worked with closely at USC. And so this was springboarded off from the 2008 Beijing Olympics when we went over there to compete. And of course, US of A brought all their westernized healthcare, and there was just such a need for athletic training services in China, especially in a niche market. And that niche market were at these international schools, matter of fact. And so these international schools were, K through 12 international schools. And so, from that internship that had been kind of created through IWS, they said, hey, we want to bring out some athletic trainers and see what they can do in China. And so there was an opportunity for me to come out to Shanghai, China, after I finished graduate school at USC, along with my roommate from graduate school. So we both were able to receive that opportunity to come out to Shanghai, China, and work for this IWS company, Institute for Western Surgery. And they said, hey, we want to put you guys at some international schools in Shanghai. And these international schools were called Shanghai American School. And so I worked there for a year. And after that internship opportunity dissolved, then I moved back to the States, worked at White Knoll High School in Columbia, South Carolina, so where I had formerly went to graduate school, and was underneath some great leadership there. Taught a sports medicine class, really loved it. That continued my passion in athletic training, being able to promote that profession to some very eager learners. And then next thing you know, I was at White Knoll High School, and then SAS, the school that I had worked with that internship with, they had contacted me and said, we're interested in hiring full-time athletic trainers. And so I put my name back in the bucket. I applied for the position, and I accepted the position to come back to Shanghai American School. And that started in the fall of 2014. And my wife and I got married, and then we moved to Shanghai, and we've been here since.
All right. So just quickly, is your wife an athletic trainer, or does she teach there at the school?
My wife is a DPT. So she went to USC and did her doctorate in physical therapy. And so she graduated from DPT school in January, and then we moved to Shanghai in August. So she was fresh out of school as well. And she didn't have a job at the time, and we both moved over and have been enjoying it since.
Cool. Is she working there at all?
Back in Colombia?
No, they're in Shanghai.
Yeah, she currently works at an international hospital as a physical therapist right now.
Very cool. It's cool to see how the skill set can transfer. And I know, we may get to some of the things, just how different the medical care is. And you hinted at that when you're talking about the Olympics. And we were talking to somebody else, and they were talking about the Olympic athletes in these other countries. Olympic athletes, they don't even have health care. And it's unbelievable. I mean, we have whole centers dedicated to Olympic athletes and their healthcare here. But anyways, all right. So let's get to your current employment. Tell me, what does it look like to work at the Shanghai American School?
All right. So, Shanghai American School, it's a K through 12 international school. It was first founded I think back in the early 1900s. As a American consulate school. And Shanghai has been an expat city for a long time. And expat I didn't know what that word meant when I first moved over here. All of a sudden, I was called an expat. I'm like, what does that mean? And so, an expat is anyone who expatriates from their country to work abroad. And so, there were a bunch of expats in Shanghai, and so they created a school called Shanghai American School, and it's a K through 12 international school currently right now, and it's a mix of foreign and Asian students. We have about 1,200 students or so. But the interesting thing about Shanghai American School is it's one school, but we have two campuses. So, like in Texas, you have University of Texas all over the place. Well, at Shanghai American School, we have one school but two campuses, a west side campus and an east side campus. And so I think we all know that the symbol, the yin and the yang, right? Well, it's kind of like that in a way. There's a river that flows through Shanghai called the Huangpi River. And so on one side you have, it's called Pudong area, and one side you have Puxi area. And so there is a school on each side of the river. And so on each campus, you would say, so we have a Pudong campus and a Puxi campus. We have three divisions, and there's an elementary division, a middle school division, and a high school division on each campus. So, for instance, my school will play the other school in sports and everything like that. So each school has about a similar number of demographics as well.
So how close are those schools you said they're on the other side of the river? Are they like you can see the other school?
Oh man, I wish, because that would make my commute a lot easier to work. But I commute about, on a good day, no traffic, I can get to work in 45, 50 minutes. With traffic, it may take an hour and a half. But from door to door, from campus to campus, it would take about an hour and 45 minutes. So Shanghai is a huge city. We're talking 29 million people, I think, since the last time I checked.
Oh, man.
And I think New York, it may be pushing 9 or 10. So I'm not too sure on that number, but it's a very big city. And so with that, there's a lot of space, right? And so it does take a good while to get cross campus.
All right. So you said your school plays their school. But let's talk about, and you also said there's K through 12 at this school.
Right.
Are there middle school athletics there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a middle school sports program. It's not as developed as our high school sports program. And in the middle school, we focus more on cooperation, more cooperative sports as opposed to competitive sports. And so with that, I think there's a different level of desire and emphasis on the outcomes. But we do have elementary sports as well, but it's more for cooperative play too. So there are lots of sports, lots of activities going on campus all the time. So it's like a traditional high school, more or less, or a traditional boarding school for all the private school folks out there. But it is K through 12, and so we accept students as early as 3 to 4 years old, all the way to 18 or 12th grade.
You said about 1,200.
So
Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
No, and so my current employment there is basically as their athletic trainer. And so my first year when I arrived on campus, I taught middle school PE, and I was also the athletic trainer. And this is my second year at Shanghai American School, and I'm only focused on athletic training responsibilities. And I work my way in the classrooms in different manners, but it's been good to allow me to focus on building the athletic training program.
All right. So you said there's 1,200 kids. Is that 600 per campus roughly? Or is that 1,200 in your campus, 1,200 that campus?
Yeah, there's Puxi's campus has a little bit more numbers than Pudong's campus. I'm not so sure on the specific number, but Puxi has a few more students than Pudong's campus.
All right.
So cumulatively, you're looking like well over, 2,000 students easy.
Gotcha. Okay. Are you based on one of those campuses, or like, how does that look? Because for me, if you're having to travel an hour 45 minutes, but if you're only playing each other, then it's understandable, because then all the games, there's no home site if you're going away, or if there's no away site
Right.
if you're playing at home. So how does that look?
Absolutely. And I'm thankful that it's not one athletic trainer covering both campuses, because then I think the services would not be as high. So Pushi, they have an athletic trainer as well. So the school said, hey, we want to hire full-time athletic trainers, one for each campus. And so yes, we do play each other quite regularly in our various sports. Like tonight, we had a Shanghai track meet, and so Pushi came over across the river, and also some other international schools in Shanghai came, and we had a little track meet, and then there's also a slow pitch softball game and some different things. So there are two different athletic trainers for each campus, and I'm one, and then my I guess my partner in crime, or my colleague, his name's Joshua Uten, and he's been there for 2 years as well.
All right. So you're on that campus and he's on the other one. Is that
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That makes that a lot easier. So, you said you have to do you travel with the teams? Because you were saying you have to go from campus to campus.
Yeah, so especially for our higher risk sports, we try to travel with those teams just so we can provide better care to those students when in need. Just like, back in the States, when our football teams travel, we like to travel with them, right, to make sure that they get the things that they deserve and that they need. And so for other sports, we do a good job of kind of scratching each other's backs, and good job of communicating, and good job of taking care of everyone that we host.
Okay, I gotcha. All right, so how are the sports, or how is your schedule similar over there than to what it was in when you're in South Carolina?
Yeah, so it's very similar to, as far as I guess the work hours would be kind of similar. I do have the opportunities to go in a little bit later to work, but for personal reasons, I try to go in early when I can, and so I'll get to school around 6:30 on some days, 7:30 on others, and I'll be there until 5:30. So no matter what, our buses roll at 5:30, and that's because our school is basically right on the coast. So Pudong's school, the campus that has all three divisions on it, elementary, middle, and high, it's right on the coast. So it's closest as you can get to California, right? And our buses will roll at 5:30 every day, because we have a bus system that takes our students to the various parts in Shanghai. And so, yeah, there may be some days where I'll leave campus 6:30, but I've rarely left campus later than 9. Sometimes we'll have some events that go on later into the evening, some Friday night light events, stuff like that.
All right, so you said the track meet that y'all just had, was that for those specific games? Do they stay later, or is it that they try to schedule those games so that they're done at 5:30 and the kids can get on the bus and go home?
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes you look at the watch and the 4x400 still hasn't, shut off. And so sometimes it's, hey, we'll get to it when we get to it. And that becomes a frustration for some of the spectators, some of the participants, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And so we have to be very strategic about the organization and the structuring of those events. And so sometimes that means we'll have multiple games or multiple meets to compensate that time loss.
So they'll just, all right, well, we're going to call it a day and we'll pick back up tomorrow or the next day?
Well, it's not like, the soccer game's going on and all of a sudden, 5:30 or 5:25, we got to blow the whistle and doesn't matter. I mean, we will finish the game out in a reasonable amount of time. And sometimes the buses may roll a little bit later than 5:30, but it's pretty consistent. And because they try to keep on schedule because these kids need to get home. It takes time to get home, and the parents want the students home, focusing on the next day and focusing on their academics. And so we try to be sensitive of those needs.
I gotcha. Okay, so how is it different than working here in the States?
Oh, God, that's a really good question. It's different culturally. I think it's different socially. It's different medically. Sometimes it's tough to get medical supplies, and then sometimes it's tough or a challenge to have conversations with, certain cultures about certain like injury management principles. It also differs in, I guess, time. I think all athletic trainers wish we all worked 40-hour weeks, and there are some weeks that I work well over 40 hours, 60 hours, and then there's some weeks where we don't work but 20, right? And so I think one thing that differs, and that's more I think sensitive to this time, is tomorrow we go on spring break, and so no matter if we're on a holiday, the athletic trainer position, the activities, the athletic department shuts down. And so I remember working at the high school, and when you have certain Christmas breaks or certain spring breaks, the sports are still going on because it's still part of that season. The holiday jam or the St. Patrick's Day soccer bash, and none of that stuff really exists here. And so when the school closes, the athletics close. And so that's a way it's different, maybe professionally. Culturally, it's completely different as far as language.
All right, how many of your students speak English?
Yeah, so I'm sure some of the listeners may think, oh, you must speak Chinese or Mandarin. Well, I'm nowhere close to speaking Mandarin. I'm trying to work on it daily, but it's quite a challenge. And so in order to enroll as a student at SAS, you must speak English. You must hold a foreign passport. And so there are prerequisites to apply to the school. And so all the students speak English. Yes, there are some students that, may struggle initially as the transition into the school, but we have such great resources at the school, from academic support, that you'll see them be able to communicate quite efficiently, rapidly.
All right. So then you just said the culture is different. So if you're looking at an injury, how kind of walk me through, say you got a kid you think has a strained muscle or let's say a sprained ankle, it's the most common injury. How are you going to treat that there?
Well, I think no matter if it's an ankle sprain in China is going to be is going to look like the same thing in the United States. And I think, we treat an ankle sprain, no matter if it's a middle school student, the same as I would treat an ankle sprain of a professional athlete. I think we want to do the best interventions that are going to result in the best outcomes. And so a lot of the management principles are quite similar. I think the main difference is communication education, because a lot of these students, this is their first interaction with a healthcare professional. trained in, let's say, evidence-based interventions in medicine. And so it's all about education. And our students are very intelligent, just like all over the U.S. And so they really appreciate understanding why and how, and so we try to do a good job of not telling them what to do, but why it's important to do this. And I think that we try to permeate that at home. And so sometimes I'm on the phone quite a bit with the parents, just educating them. These are the things that I would recommend, and these are the things that we may want to try to avoid. And so I think as long as that communication is started up front with education, then I think we've seen some good outcomes with some things.
So you feel like the parents are receptive to the Western idea of, rest, ice, rehab, strengthening and balance and all this other stuff that you would do for an ankle sprain?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also too, they do have, some of the patients that I interact with, they come from Asian families. And so, some of these families have different sets of family values. And as a healthcare provider, then I need to be mindful of these, because I want to respect their family values. But I think it's very important too to educate people who may be new to Western healthcare, particularly athletic training services.
So tell me some more about the family values that you have to learn and then learn how to respect.
Yeah, and well, for instance, traditional Chinese medicine has been around for thousands and thousands of years. And so the way that these traditions have been treating things, that's kind of hard and sensitive to break through, And so I think when you respectfully, it's not like we're sending them a systematic review, right? But when we are just breaking things down into layman terms and being very, sensitive of the information and just really using a lot of metaphors and just educating them. And I think that that has been very helpful. And so, I sometimes I treat kids and then I'll see them the next day, and the family may have gone a certain or a different treatment route. They may have taken them to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor and had received acupuncture, and that may be completely fine. And I'm excited to read about and hear about those experiences. And I think it's important not to tell kids and students that they're doing something wrong. I just think it's good to tell them there's a different way to get to that final product. There's a different way to skin a cat or there's a different way to reach that end product.
Right,
and I'll go ahead.
I was gonna say, so tell me, are there any of the practices from their traditional Chinese medicine that you've incorporated because of you've seen them work, or you've been to visit the clinics, or maybe your wife has brought it home and taught you?
Yeah, I'm excited to learn about traditional Chinese medicine. I don't feel comfortable with some of the interventions and implementing them into my practice just because I don't have a lot of that foundational knowledge. A lot of it interests me. There was a traditional Chinese medicine tour that I went on when I first arrived in Shanghai, just because I wanted to know and have a little bit of a background information. So when I did interact with a patient and they described to me that they received cupping or that they received moxibustion or even Tai Chi as a form of traditional Chinese medicine, I just wanted to have a basic knowledge of that and be sensitive of that. But I think also too that a lot of our students, though, I don't have to deal with that a lot, to be honest with you. Our students, they've started to to report their injuries, and they've started to become very responsive of the treatment management advice. And it's really good when you recommend, when you advise things, and then when they come back and you see improvements. That's rewarding.
Okay, so you have to tell me, what's moxibustin?
Yeah, so the best way I can describe it is maybe just through painting a picture, and I'm not really sure what the purpose of it is, but it's kind of like a big incense, and you light it, and a special pattern or a special movement from the practitioner kind of goes around the body, and maybe the fumes from the incense help release toxins, or it helps create blood flow. I just can't be too accurate on it, but yeah, it's I think there's 5 different main methods of traditional Chinese medicine according to this tour that I went on. I think you have Tai Chi, moxibustin, herbal remedies, cupping, and acupuncture. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
I went to it was SWATA a couple years ago when they had it here in Houston, and I don't think is Tai Chi. Is that where you're moving your hands up and down the body lines to affect the flow of the chi? Is that what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. I would call it very similar to yoga in a way, but I don't want to make that connection because right off the bat, just because it is very specific, and people train Tai Chi a long time. And I see it all the time in Shanghai when I'm walking to the bus in the morning time. There'll be people in the parks practicing their Tai Chi. And it's very pretty to watch. And I've practiced it a little bit with a class that the tour that I took. And yeah, it's, I think, focusing on different meridians of the body, but I can't comment too much on it because I don't have that much knowledge on the practices of it, but it is very interesting. And along with traditional Chinese medicine, I think, the hot topic right now in the States, especially in the physical therapy world, is, dry needling. And so that is a derivation of acupuncture, and or vice versa. And so one of the doctors that I work closely with over here, he said that he often recommends acupuncture is just a different way to maybe reduce pain. He believes it helps with pain management, and so I'm looking forward to investigating that a little bit further.
And have you experienced yourself acupuncture at all?
Yeah, I have. So part of this tour, this TCM tour, was to it was kind of interesting. They said, "Do you want to try any of these interventions out?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll try it out." And so I tried all of them out, except the herbal teas and stuff. So yeah, acupuncture. I kind of think back to that movie, The Nutty Professor. I didn't get that many needles stuck in me, but I had a few stuck in my stomach, and I took some pictures of it just to kind of reflect on those memories back, later on in life. But it is quite interesting. They left them in me for a little while, and they hooked up some electrodes, so it was very similar to an electrical stimulation with the needle. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay, I had a guy coming into class, and it wasn't a true acupuncture treatment. He just kind of demonstrated to the kids, like stuck needles in me so that the kids could kind of see, and he was kind of explaining what he was doing, and then he took them out and stuck them in somewhere else. And so I don't know that I can say that it benefited me, because it wasn't really like I'm having this problem, come treated. It was here, let's demonstrate this so the kids can see it. So, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I know that acupuncture is more specific to sites,
Right.
And there's different. It's maybe linked to more of a neurological pathway system, like the spot in the foot may be specifically directed towards the liver or the kidney or something. So it is interesting though.
Okay, so I've written a lot of grants, and actually, I'm looking at writing one to do some athletic training stuff through Fund for Teachers as a travel grant. So tell me a little bit more about this traditional Chinese medicine tour. Is it something that athletic trainers can, from here in the States, go, sign up for this tour, fly over there, take this traditional Chinese medicine tour for, a week or two, learn some stuff, and then come home? Or is it only because you work at that school?
Yeah, well, the great thing about Shanghai is there's a lot of opportunities to experience the culture in the city. And I was just thumbing through a magazine and I saw this TCM tour, and just give them a call, and they said, yeah, we're going to run a tour on a Saturday for 4 hours, and so come learn all about traditional Chinese medicine. And this was 3 years ago when I first came over here. And I had just a really good experience with it. And then when I had some family and friends come over, I said, hey, we have to go do this traditional Chinese medicine tour. And so we went for it again. And so I'm sure that they have expansions and extensions on that TCM tour. And I'd be more than happy to investigate those for you and give you some information.
Yeah, because just having the opportunity to travel and not really using it as an excuse, but basically
Sure.
using the medicine, the learning as an excuse for somebody else to pay for your travel. Because with Fund for Teachers, they pay, up to $5,000. So that's just about the flight to China and back, right?
Yeah, it's surprisingly getting cheaper and cheaper. But yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity. I've heard you drop that Fund for Teachers on the air before, and yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity, not only to expand and grow professionally, but to also experience different types of medicinal interventions.
So while we're kind of on that thread, would somebody be able to come and intern with you for a week over the summer? Because like I said, the Fund for Teacher has to be done during the summer. And so do you do anything during the summer? And then we'll go into if somebody could come out.
Yeah, well, right now, the school shuts down in the summer, and so we do have a summer school program, but it's more academic than let's say athletic. And so as long as I've been here, I've had the summers off, and so I've used that time to travel. And but with my wife not working at the school and her being on a different schedule than I, I kind of see that I'll be around more summers than like my colleagues who may take off from Shanghai for the holidays. But yeah, I mean, I would I'd love to continue these conversations further and see what could happen. I've always dreamed of the opportunity of inviting other healthcare professionals and even athletic training students over to the school to be able to take part in just a different experience culturally, professionally, be challenged. So hopefully those opportunities can come into fruition in the future.
We're going to continue the conversation, but if someone wants to get a hold of you, maybe to find out about, submitting a grant and the things that they could do, what's the best way someone can get a hold of you?
So the best way to get a hold of me is just through email. And my email address is caleb.lott@saschina.org. So that's caleb.lott@saschina.org.
All right. And then how open do you think the school would be to allowing people to kind of come shadow you, or maybe even where your wife works, for someone to come in there and kind of shadow her?
Well, I think with the, with China having a bunch of restrictions, and those may be political restrictions from the top coming down, and then also with the school just being respectful of those, let's say, limitations or of those issues, then there could possibly be some opportunities in the future. I think I would have to have those conversations with the powers that be within my school first, and But the great thing about it is at Shanghai American School, we invite people over all the time to speak at our school. We just had one of the Newbery Prize winner for writing a book. I think it's Kwame Alexander. He wrote a book about basketball, and it's all poetry. And so he came over to our school to speak, and we have just people all over the world coming to our school to help our students have a great experience, to help us to grow professionally, to develop us. And the school really prides themselves on making us better professionals, so we can grow, and then also so we can help our students. And so I think any outlet for that, the school is very responsive at. And so they really promote innovation within the school. And so we're trying to do new things, and hence the creation of the athletic trainer position at Shanghai American School. It's there's a lot of international schools in Asia and Southeast Asia, and Shanghai American School has kind of pioneered that. And so they're all about innovation and growing you professionally. And so I think having opportunities where people coming over can not only help me, but also I could perhaps help them too. So I'm looking forward to the possibilities.
You had mentioned growing the athletic training program. Do you have any students that work with you?
That is something that I'm working on. At White Knoll High School back in Columbia, South Carolina, I was underneath the great leadership of this athletic trainer named Sheila Gordon, and she had a great program of a athletic training student aid program, and I was really able to see that firsthand from that level. And so I've tried to take some of those concepts, and what works well in Columbia, South Carolina, and what works well in Houston may not work well in Shanghai, China. And so I have to be kind of sensitive of that. And our students, they are just involved in so many activities, from academics to athletics to different activities. And so what we've done is, since I've arrived here, we've created it's called the Sports Medicine Club. And so what we do is we meet every Monday, and our mission is students helping student athletes and basically serving our school community. And so right now it's just a club, and part of an extension of that club is, hey, let's make it, let's have some prerequisites to be in the club. And so we've been able to have the opportunity to certify them in first aid and CPR, and then that makes me feel more comfortable with allowing them to do things here on campus underneath those trained skills. And so the goal is to have a student with every sport, but these students are just so involved in their sports, and a lot of my club members are student athletes. And so I'm sure you understand the challenges of that. And so I'm looking forward to not only finishing this year but also next year. It's growing. The students are very interested about it. They're really interested in sports medicine, and so it's great to just tell them and just introduce them, hey, there's different opportunities than just athletic training in the field of sports medicine, and this may just be a way to springboard your interest. And so I look forward to growing the program and seeing what can happen.
I know that athletic trainers tend to just keep doing and doing, and so I don't want to in any way add something to your plate, but maybe at one point or another we can figure out somehow to do like a Skype session between your students and my students, and not necessarily a pen pal, but just for them to say, hey, we're student athletic trainers here, you're in the sports medicine club there, what do you guys do, what does that look like for you? And just kind of meet and interact. Obviously my kids here in Pasadena, they don't usually get outside of Pasadena. The most that they know about people outside of Pasadena usually is from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. And so expanding the culture would be cool. Only problem is, you're right now you're 13 hours ahead during daylight savings time. You're 14 hours ahead. So
Yeah.
it may be, one night after a game, I have some kids and you just Skype in during class or something like that. I don't know if it's an
Yeah.
option, but
I think our kids would love it. I try to create things that are authentic for them. And so, I think that would just allow them to say, hey, it's not just us over here. It's there's other students our age doing these similar things. And I was even telling them about the sports medicine class and how you can, learn information in this class, and then you can go to compete at the state and national level of the things that you're learning in class. And their eyes just got really big, and I think it's exciting to be able to just distribute that there is more things out there than what we're just doing inside these school walls.
all
So
right.
yeah, I look forward to seeing what can blossom. It would be exciting.
Yeah, like like I said, there's always lots to do, and so it can be easily pushed to the back burner, or it could easily become a burden. But yeah, I think it's something that we should at least look into, or the other people that are like me, athletic trainers in here in the States. If you want to try and get a hold of Caleb, he gave you his email earlier. Email them and say, hey, I'd like to set something up, or hey, I want to come visit, or something like that. Definitely get a hold of them there. So Caleb, you work with K through 12, right? You just
Yeah.
had a son. Do you think you're gonna bring your son to your school? He's got what, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my wife and I just gave birth to our first child 3 weeks ago yesterday. And so in 3 years, he would have the opportunity to go to the school that I work at, which would be a phenomenal opportunity for him. And if we're still in China, then it would be nice to see him become an eagle. That's our mascot.
Hey, we're the Eagles too.
Nice.
So they start at 3 years old there?
Yeah, we do have a pre-kindergarten class. It's quite small, but it is growing, and there's a lot of interest from the external community to support it. So it's a quite changing environment over here. Things change quite quickly, and so our numbers are growing, and just in different ways and different manners.
All right. So looking at that, possibly 3 to 18 years old, are you the primary healthcare provider for the entire campus, or is there a school nurse as well?
Yeah, I'm SAS. They're just really committed to not only providing the highest standard of academics, but also healthcare services to the students. And so at each division on each campus, there's a nurse. So you have a elementary school nurse, a middle school nurse, and a high school nurse. And so out of our whole SAS school, we have 6 nurses and 2 athletic trainers. And so there are nurses, and they're really good at handling general medical things, and we have a good working relationship where, if an elementary school student falls down and the nurse would like for me to take a look at little Johnny or little Susie's arm or knee, then I'm more than happy to help, just because we're providing a higher level of care for that student. So,
What about the nurses? Are they Western trained and hired from the United States, or they tend to be Asian trained nurses?
Yeah, they're all of our school nurses have been trained in the United States, and majority of those school nurses, they may be a spouse of a teacher who works at the school, or they may be an expat living in Shanghai who's just looking for work, or they, may have just found out about the job from a posting or something. And majority of our nurses come from the United States. We do have a few nurses that have been trained in Canada, and so it's great to know their level of training and background, because I think I'm not sure about the benchmarks and the standards of what the Chinese nurses are required to learn for their certification or anything. So it's quite nice to have another level of care at the school, and it allows me to focus more on the athletics sides of things, but I'm also there to help with anything that the school nurses would like for me to help with. So it's good.
All right. So what's the biggest challenge in dealing with K through 12?
You know, I think the best part maybe is just getting to work with a variety of patients at different ages. I think that's very exciting. You know, I may see an elementary kid in the morning who fell off the playground and landed on his knee, and all the way to the English teacher in the early afternoon who has been complaining of chronic knee pain for 3 months. So with that being said, it's sometimes challenging to get a thorough history from younger patients, as you may know from your children. You know, and often we may do things from an evaluation standpoint, but they may not realize that I'm evaluating them. And so I think the history is a challenge with the younger kids, but it's a lot of metaphors sometimes. But you know, I think I really value the mechanism of injury, and sometimes you don't always get that with a younger kid, and so it does become a challenge. But then again, clinical pearls are clinical pearls, and sometimes we can't forget that. And so it's been a good challenge. It has allowed me to, you know, be able to gain more experience in treating the younger athlete, and I don't think we get a lot of that coming through the athletic training education curriculum. I think now you're starting to see coverage more at middle school, and then, you know, I think that's just going to continue to go to scaffold downwards, and you know, there are, you know, of course, a mature skeleton is different than an immature skeleton, and so it's good to be sensitive of those developmental periods.
All right. What do you feel has been the most rewarding part of starting that program there?
Oh, that's a good question. Most rewarding part of starting the program, you know, it's, you know, working with our students at SAS. You know, they're very respectful, and they're responsible learners in the classroom, and I think that translates out to the athletic fields, the courts, the pools, and even the stages. And you know, when injuries take place, right, especially the ones that are in season, or perhaps the career-ending injury, then I think seeing that spectrum of hopelessness at the beginning of an injury all the way to happiness when you see them competing again on the fields, I think that's really rewarding, and I'm confident that a lot of the listeners can relate to that. And so that's been a really rewarding part, just seeing them get back competing again, and knowing, hey, you know, you don't have to hang up the cleats. You tore your ACL your junior year. Now I feel like we can provide better care, and then we can get them, you know, continuing to live their dream, and getting them competing again, and letting them have a better outcome.
All right. So on that same note there, you got somebody that tore their ACL. Do you send them to the Institute of Western Surgery, or is it you just say, hey, I'd recommend you go to this doctor, or do you have a team physician? How does that work?
I have a team physician per se, but I think it's great to be sensitive of the patient's needs, and what does this patient need.
I think we lost you there for a second, Caleb. All right, so Caleb is in Shanghai, China, and he's mentioned several times that there is sometimes bandwidth issues. So I'm sure he'll be calling back here in a second, and if not, we have an alternate. He'll call back and finish the conversation. So I'm really enjoying this conversation with Caleb. He is my most long distance listener. So he's part of the Sports and Medicine broadcast group. So welcome back, Caleb. He's still coming in here. And so he sent me an email a while back just saying, hey, thanks for doing the sports medicine broadcast. I listen all the way over here. It's hard to get good professional development way over here in China. And so notes like that are very encouraging and definitely make me want to continue doing the sports medicine broadcast. So on that note, if you listen to other podcasts or you know of other people that are doing, a blog or something like that, just send them a note, say, hey, thank you for doing this. Hey, thank you for, or tell them why it's been important to you. And so I know Caleb said he knows that the sports medicine broadcast has helped him in his practice as an athletic trainer where he's so disconnected from the rest of the world. So please reach out to somebody who you are listening to, following, something like that, and just tell them thank you for doing the work that they do. All right, so he should be calling back here in just a second. But hello? Can you hear me?
Hey, Jeremy.
I turned my camera off to try and save the bandwidth, so you might not be able to see me.
Hello?
All right, you good?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Quite clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you stay still, I know it's hard because we're having a regular conversation, then it's actually a little bit easier on the camera because they don't have to process as much. So that's why I turned mine off, is so that it doesn't eat up as much of your bandwidth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you can be a statue while you're talking, it's even easier.
Yeah.
All right.
I can make that happen.
Okay. So we just talked about one of the biggest challenges. And now while you were gone, I was talking about how you sent the email saying that you feel like the sports medicine broadcast has really helped you in your practice and just keeping you up to date. How are you staying up to date with CEUs and things like that over there?
Yeah, well, thankfully the internet allows that to be possible. I do a lot of my CEUs online, and then when I'm come back for the summer, typically I come back to the States, and I'll try to attend some symposiums, some conferences, and get some CEUs that way. And so that's been very helpful. Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays with the internet capabilities, it makes it quite easy to do things on your own and be able to cherry pick your interests and stuff. So I've been fortunate to take part in some continuing education classes quite regularly, and so that's the best way for me to stay up to date. And then it's just awesome to be able to be a listener of the sports medicine broadcast, and I feel like that connects me back to just the athletic trainers back home. There are some athletic trainers here in Shanghai. There's 4 total in Shanghai, but it's hard for us to get together and communicate and just socialize. And so on my rides into work, I typically throw on a podcast here and there and just checking out the different stuff. And so it's been quite helpful.
Very cool. What has been your favorite site, favorite way to get CEUs online?
I've typically had the most success with just the NATA Career Center, or the Quiz Center on the website. That's where I found the most helpful information. There was a really good, I think, international sports safety course that I took right before the last reporting period, and that was very helpful. It even took me back to my undergrad days and was a good refresher on some of the things that I maybe could be doing a little bit better job at.
Gotcha. All right. So what do you think the chances are that they would have another athletic trainer there at your school? Like they would add another one to work
Yeah.
right beside you.
Yeah, that would be very. It would be awesome to have an extra set of hands that can be able to make a difference for our students and also faculty. And I think that in the future, as our school may continue to see the value and the workload of the athletic trainer position, then I'm looking forward to having those conversations with our, higher admin, and I can kind of see it working like a model in the States at some of your bigger schools where you may have the head athletic trainer, and then the assistant athletic trainer is responsible for more the academic side of things. I know that may fluctuate pertaining the context of the school and other variables and stuff, but yeah, I think it would be very, very awesome and very helpful.
All right. So on that note, what if someone wants to? All right. So we lost Caleb again. Again, as part of what he calls the Great Firewall of China. So it's been a great conversation so far. I've got just a few more questions, and then we'll end it. And because from my experience and talking with my friend in China, whenever it kind of starts dropping, it just kind of continues and continues. So we'll get this last question for Caleb about following in his footsteps, and then we will close it out and go on about the day. So. All right, Caleb.
Hey, Jeremy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, I cut my video off. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about to all the listeners about the Great Firewall of China. Sometimes it can just be a little unpredicted, and just one of the frustrations, but it just teaches you more patience, I guess.
All right. Sorry, I had to switch the volume there. All right. So, Caleb, the last question I had for you was, if someone wants to follow in your footsteps, someone wants to do something similar, what would you advise?
I think that if someone wanted to pursue international athletic training, then I think obviously meeting the prerequisites to become a certified athletic trainer, or, in Canada, they have, athletic therapists. I think getting a certification in that as a healthcare professional in that field is just such a prerequisite. And then what helped me, I think what separated me from others is just having a teacher certification. And so I think that is the best way to help convince these academic schools, these school stakeholders, to say, hey, this individual can come in, they can provide athletic training services for our students, maybe at the faculty if that's something that they want to pursue. And they can also teach a class. Now, what does that look like? Well, I think that just depends upon that school's goals. And so I think that is what has helped me. And maybe it's approaching schools and school boards internationally about getting an athletic trainer at their school. Inviting them for further discussions and showing them research and resources that the NATA has provided the public on the benefits and the values and the purposes of having these healthcare professionals at the secondary school level. There's 12 schools that compete in our conference, and these schools are in South Korea, Hong Kong, all over China, Vietnam, the Philippines. And so Shanghai American School, we have 2 schools that compete in that conference, and we're the only school, in addition to most recently another one, who has hired full-time athletic trainers. And so I foresee all these other schools in the next 5 to 10 years saying, hey, we want to provide a higher standard of care for our students, our athletes, and maybe our faculty. And so I'm really excited to see the profession grow internationally, and I want to help those schools be able to give their students what I feel like they deserve. And I think that it can even go back to the students, student athlete Bill of Rights, right? So I think it's quite exciting what the future can hold in the international setting.
All right. How important do you feel your internship was, or do you think somebody would be able to get to where you are without having some sort of foreign athletic training internship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you look at the, athletic or the NATA Career Center and you search job postings, non/US, rarely there's a posting for an internship internationally. I think China may have been the first one through the Institute for Western Surgery. And so I think those internships are quite limited. And I don't think that's necessarily a prerequisite to be able to work as an athletic trainer internationally. I think what schools may look for is those individuals that maybe want to take risk and be curious and explore possibilities. And, are they able to step out of their comfort zone? Because that does happen every day over here. And it's just being able to adapt when you are in a situation, maybe that's professionally or personally. And so I think that someone who meets those characteristics would be very attractable to schools.
All right. Any last thoughts? And then I'm going to ask you to give a shout out to your family, and then thank some of the people that kind of helped you get there. So any last thoughts about working as an athletic trainer in China that we might not have covered?
Oh, I mean, I think it's just a really great opportunity to visit other countries, to advocate for the profession. It's really nice when you can sit down and meet with different schools, their communities, be able to spread the knowledge of athletic training, be an advocate for athletic training, and just push it on these borders and make it more of a global profession as opposed to a domestic profession. And it's just very exciting to be a part of. And I'm just really thankful for the opportunity to be able to speak on the sports medicine broadcast. And I look forward to, being in touch with people if they wish to continue these conversations further.
All right. So give me a shout out to your family, a thanks to some people that help you get there, and then we'll get that contact information again.
Absolutely. So I just want to shout out to my family for being supportive of these dreams and these goals, all the way back in North Carolina, even to here in Shanghai and down in Florida. And then just really grateful for all the people who have supported my family over here and helping us get here, all the way back to Mars Hill College and University of South Carolina and the Institute for Western Surgery, and really thankful for those people and those opportunities.
All right. And again, your contact information, somebody wants to email you.
Yeah, so contact information is caleb.lott, CALEB .LOTT @saschina.org. You can reach me by email. That's probably the best way. And I look forward to answering any questions and being able to spread the knowledge of athletic training here in China. And I look forward to hearing from people maybe.
All right, Caleb, who do you get medical supplies from?
I currently order through a supplier in the States. So I have to order supplies a year in advance, which makes things a little complicated and challenging. But I've currently been using School Health, and I currently use Medco. But majority of our supplies come from School Health. I remember being out at, Mid Carolina High School in Prosperity, South Carolina, and School Health just, really showed us some love, and that's just really meant a lot to me. And I know that's very similar to a lot of the listeners, and I feel like it's a really good, personable company. And so I'm really satisfied with their products, with their customer service, and just I enjoy continuing those relationships.
Awesome. Well, obviously, as you know, we're partnered with School Health. So make sure you go to sportshealth.com/SMB and fill out each month. And that way you can be eligible to win that gift card and hopefully get you either something for you, for your kid, or something for the school. Just help them out a little bit. I don't know how, like you said, it takes a year to order stuff and get over there, but
absolutely.
I guess if you get started right away, then you'll have it in a year. So then a year later, you can tweet me a picture.
Yeah, hopefully, the good thing about it is that skin lube takes a long time to expire, right? So,
right.
I think we're good. But yeah, it does make things challenging, but it is nice when it's like Christmas comes early in August when we unpack all of our supplies and orders from 12 months ago. So it's quite good.
All right. Well, if you come back to the States and you're down here in Houston, you definitely have to hit me up, and maybe I could take you to some of these conferences with me or something like that during the summer. But
yeah, I look forward to it. And for all those athletic trainers out there listening, if you ever come to Shanghai or China, please reach out. I'd love to meet up, show you the city, show you where we work, and who knows what the possibilities can lead to after that.
That's right. Connecting people. It's so cool to know that, I know people in Hawaii. I know people all over the United States. And now I know people in China. And so it's just really cool that this sports medicine broadcast that started is just something I was doing almost to entertain my kids, my students, to give them like somebody else to listen to rather than me, is now kind of connecting me across the globe. So it's really cool.
Yeah, it's I was just, when I first saw it on the sports medicine or the podcast feed, I just was searching something to get me connected back home, and it popped up, and I just really enjoy the show, and I just really think it's an awesome, authentic opportunity for your sports medicine students. It seems like they're quite involved with it, and what a great opportunity for them to learn about the profession and learn something with broadcasting, and it just kind of resonates in different levels. So a lot of great things I'm hearing going on at Pasadena.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. This is sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/China, where you can hear from Caleb Lott, and I was working at Shanghai American School. So again, sportsmedicinebroadcast.com/China, and then that'll let you see the show notes and the way you can contact Caleb. Again, that's caleb.lott@saschina.org. And then he would love to see if you come out to China and hang out with him, to spend a day, or, if you want to get some insider tips for traveling, then hit him up there too, because he knows what it's like to be an American in China. So, all right. Well, for Jeremy, Sports Medicine Broadcast, Caleb Lott, all the way over in the late night, Shanghai, China. That is a wrap. Thanks, Caleb.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Keep them healthy.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.